Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NLC. We're getting ready to go into our second game of the day. This is going to be Domino versus Nord. I don't want to be that guy, but low-key, kind of expecting more of what we saw from the previous game coming into this one. Another team who are 2-7 versus another team that are 8-1. Sorry, we got a team who are clearly looking like one of the best teams in the league, if not, as you were saying earlier, Aragon, the best team in the league. What are Domino's hopes right now? What are they going to be able to do in this game?
You know what's funny is I think Domino's hopes are the same thing that I'm going to call their weaknesses, right? I think their hopes are finding some amazing quirky draft that finds, some kind of advantage early, and that transitions into a lead, maybe putting behind Fire Rain, which is putting behind Fury, which is a realistic thing you can do in the early game, at least in the past. But I also think that's their weakness, right? I think Domino have become, potentially a little bit too quirky in their drafts. I think, I mean, the elephant in the room is the Silas support from yesterday. I think I agree with the sentiment everyone else had, which is why? Just why? I believe at one point in the draft you could have just picked Silas mid, and it would have been completely fine. Yes, I get the idea that you have great ultimates, right? You have Gnarl, Maokai ult, but it's Silas support, and it's kind of useless after 5 minutes. So I think just being a bit more tempered. We praised Domino's drafts last week, but I think they've taken the flexibility of the drafts and ran with it and ran the ball off a cliff. You know what I mean? It's just too far. So just rein that in, and I think that's the hope.
I mean, it's like Domino would defined it a little bit by kind of being mad scientists, but they've kind of taken all the science out the drafts, and then they're just mad and they're just drafting whatever. I don't know. I'm hoping for some spice, but tempered spice. We don't need to do a ghost chili here. We need a little bit of flavor, a little bit of enhancement, because I feel like if they do pick just standard meta, it has to be one hell of a draft for them to then outdraft Nord, and then to even then use that draft against Nord, because Nord are a team who are very, very good at playing what they draft. I mean, we spoke to Kiba, and Kiba was kind of defining how Ruddy and Nord are very different. Nord will wait for you to make the mistake and then punish you on that, versus Ruddy, who basically force you into making that mistake. Teams that sit back like Nord, they're very good at understanding when and how to play, when and how to kind of punish you. So I feel like it's going to have to be one hell of a draft here from Domino. I'm not going to completely write them off. I think that would be a little bit unfair on Domino. But I do acknowledge that this is very much an uphill battle for Domino. They are a team who are struggling 2-7. Not the greatest scoreline, not the greatest performance so far. And I think some of their games recently, it's like the inner voices have kind of taken over and won. So we'll see what they've got. We'll be getting into draft shortly anyway as well. I'm excited to see what it's going to be looking like. So we're in. Domino are going to be on that blue side, Nord on the red. The Maokai going to be the first ban there. Nothing too unexpected, followed by the Elise as well, another pick, which you do see a lot of bans thrown away at the Elise at the moment, ever since the changes on patch 13.2. Olaf and Varus as well.
Yeah, and you just got to think about the standard old draft thing. What's going to be left open? Ashe, Sejuani. I think Sejuani left open here is really, really important. I got really confused because I think the team logos are the wrong way around. So I got really confused.
Oh, yeah.
A Sejuani first pick, I think, is what Nord should go for. Sejuani just works so well with this team. If you look at the champion pools, Sejuani plus all the champions that Fury plays in terms of melee mids, and then also the melee top laners that WoW likes to play, especially since you like to play towards topside, I think just works really damn well. I think that should be high on the priorities. You also have the standard options of Lucian Nami, who's up to. Annie is not something we've seen today. Maybe it's overrated. Maybe I've been hyping it too much. Lee Sin. This is what I talked about at the start of the day. Yeah. So Lee Sin, for anyone who doesn't know, was buffed in 13.3. That is the patch we're on, and his win rate skyrocketed. I was scouting what are the effects of these changes? Because maybe it could bring about metas like Lee Sin LeBlanc back again into the Azir, which is a popular meta pick. LeBlanc kind of stayed the same, but Lee Sin's win rate just absolutely skyrocketed in solo queue. I can't remember exactly the win rate now, but we might just see the battle of the 13.3 picks, and he is locked in as that flex pick. So we might see it go support or mid.
I like the fact it's flex pick. I'm also very sad you spoke about LeBlanc, because those LeBlanc buffs weren't really buffs. They were just mana. It was just a bit of mana. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what is going to be picked up here for the side of this. Wait, yeah, sorry. Now the logos were the wrong way around. Now they're the right way around. For a minute, I was like, wait, who's on what team? probably not going to reveal where this Annie goes yet. They may wait until quite a bit later into the draft. They've got the Jin picked up, Jin Annie, perfectly fine as well as a bot lane duo, but Xiaolin can also play it. Am I right in thinking Xiaolin plays Annie? I swear this was a pick. Was that someone else?
This guy plays everything.
There was a point where we had a mid laner who Annie was like one of their power picks, and I swear it was Xiaolin. I might be completely wrong on that point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he can probably play it though. He'll probably play it because he played Renekton, you know, like he'll play anything. Nautilus actually taken into Annie. This is an answer we saw in the LCK. I can't remember which team it was, but they took Nautilus into the Annie, and the second Annie got hooked early, she just died. Right, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of kill lane coming in. Nautilus Draven, Nautilus Kalista, Nautilus something might be really good. No
way, Draven. Yep. You said it and you brought it to us. That is going to be Woolite on the Draven, baby. I feel the answer is going to be out here. Obviously, like you're saying, Nautilus with the into the Annie, all it takes is that single hook. That could be enough to signal that this is time to shift up and put that Annie in the mid lane. And then they could pick something to go well with Jin. Something that can, you know, play a little bit more for the poke and the harass. For now, though, the Rek'Sai is going to get picked up there for Shackle. Want to make sure that they do get him a jungler. I believe it's been a while since I've seen this matchup, but I believe Rek'Sai is quite happy here. You obviously have the interrupt and stuff to work with. You can't stop him from landing the second part of the queue. And now, just going to be a couple of mid lane bans coming out from the side of Domino.
Yeah, I mean, so it's pretty interesting. We're seeing so many picks that we just haven't seen before, you know? I don't remember the last time I saw Rek'Sai in competitive, and just Domino, you know, of course they're going to be the team to bring it out into that Lee Sin, who's now, you know, potentially playable because of the buffs. I think No Name from Ruddy tweeted out, like I think it was 2 days ago, he said, Lee Sin is back, baby, quoting. So... yeah, no, I think it's definitely interesting, and looks a whole bucket of worms, you know, can of worms. Does look like mid lane's going to be heavily pinched here because you're going to get your blind mid lane picks. Azir's gone, Fury target ban. Maybe you ban out the Victor 2, which is something Fury wants, or you ban out his melee setup stuff that likes to work well with Lee Sin. I think Lee Sin needs a bit of setup, right? So I think Silas, maybe something like this. Does look like WoW's going to get the bans though. I would ban Olaf Darius into him as well. What's striking me though is Jax is up, and he's very comfortable with that. Other blind pick top laners that might be picked right now are Cassante. I think Cassante likes the Renekton ban too, so I think that's what we're looking for.
Alrighty, let's see what is next here for all of these players. Yeah, probably good expected here for front bun.
It's good into both Jax and Cassante, so it's not a bad answer at all.
And again, keeping the Annie open. I think they really want to know what they're going to be up against in the mid or the bot to figure out where Annie goes. Because, you know, if there's a hard counter Annie mid, then they'll probably just look to put it bot lane. If they feel comfortable playing the Annie matchup in the mid, it means they can take it out of that potential kill line and maybe play something a bit more passive in the bot side. Obviously, the Sion's getting picked up. So a little bit of a different pickup here for the side of Nord. See what this final rotation is going to be. This is going to be Fury's mid laner. See what he's going to try and pick up here into what he might assume is the Annie, but also, like we said, is still very flexible. Running the timer down a little bit, figuring out what the game plan is. I'm trying to think of what mid laners are up and open to them. Obviously, the Azir has been banned away. So we have seen so many people go. But the Silas? No, I think the Lissandra's fine.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, Lissandra and Nautilus have innate synergy. I was going to say, like, this is what I was saying before with Lee Sin. Lee Sin needs setup, right? So back in the past, you pick something like Twisted Fate, Yellow Card, plus Lee Sin, Lissandra, plus Lee Sin, stuff like this. But Lissandra also here, on top of that, also has the Gnar ultimate to work with. Wait, what am I saying? I was thinking about Silas at the same time. All good. The big point, because I was so caught up with myself, was the Sion pick. And with no exaggeration, currently a pick that's rising up priority, which we haven't seen yet much in the NLC, is Sion. And with no exaggeration, Sion picks and angles in this current patch wins games. They just win games right now because take a look at the DPS from the side of Domino. There just isn't any, right? Like, who's going to kill this Sion come like 30 minutes, like 25 to 30 minutes? No one. Jin? No, right? He doesn't do any damage. This is what infamously Jin is not good at. So I'm really surprised WoW is actually picking up the Sion here, because this is the opposite of his champ pool too, right? There's no Ghost Flash. There's nothing like this. So this is a real test of a WoW's champ pool once again, and I'm really happy to see it.
Yeah, and on the other side, we are seeing the Victor coming out as the final pick there from Domino for Xiaolin to answer out into that Lissandra. I think it's a way more comfortable matchup for the Annie into the Lissandra. Obviously, there is that worry about this bot lane now. I think a single hook could genuinely undo this lane, as we have seen prior. to that, we'll obviously have a look at how these kind of newer junglers, or well, I say newer, but they're like back in the meta junglers, are going to fare when we get into this game. I'm very excited for this one. Obviously, again, a bit like the other game, I like the drafts on both sides. Nameplates off, I think it could be a banger game. Nameplates on, you have to look at the fact that Nord have consistently been one of the strongest teams. And as you were saying, Aragon, you think, ignoring all the numbers, they just have been the best team in the league so far. So it's going to be an uphill battle here for Domino, who are a team who are definitely struggling with only 2 wins under their belt.
Best team in the league? I think it's arguable. I think it's definitely an argument, right? I at the very least, out the top 3 teams with Ruddy, Nord, and Riddle, I believe they're at least the most consistent, right? I think that's definitely fair. One thing I want to highlight is this is a very clear draft and identity from Nord, in that WoW is now, it looks like, he's able to play weak side better now, right? This is something we've been seeing recently with his Cassante picks, as like an immovable wall, like top lane, where he's constantly 1v2ing and 1v3ing and actually like making it out. I think it was like versus natives or something. He was managing to do that consistently, and now he's actually branching out to more weak side champions. So maybe they've decided, you know what, guys, our identity from now on is WoW on like a weak side pick. We've given him some resources to have some fun with like Olaf, and maybe we'll still do that. But with this Draven, with this Nautilus, we're capable of playing to bot side as well. You know, and WoW, you might int a couple times because that's kind of the nature of Scion, but you know, we're able to do that.
Do as the boss does, you know. Just just soft int and win the game. It's fine. We're getting into the game though for our second one of the day. Domino, obviously these are some of the changes to Annie. She now has her passive at the beginning of the game. Don't have to kind of level an ability. Maybe you don't want to level. It means you can save for whatever you want to go for. I don't actually know. W, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, remember that Annie passive just got changed to the point where she like starts with full stacks, right? So I think she could go W and get a free stun. Just looking at the compositions though, what I expect to see from the side of Nord is mid jungle play into bot side. You unlock that Lissandra to perma dive with that Lee Sin on bot lane slow pushes onto that Draven and Nautilus, and there's just nothing that the Annie and Jin can do in theory. We'll have to see how Shackle matches that. Maybe like he stops the roams, and then maybe we get like maybe we lose the win condition from the side of Nord. I think that's the game plan. Top lane is going to be irrelevant, right? Top lane is just going to be farm fest. We do have 2 very good top laners in the game. Who might be able to pull out some kind of miracle, but like realistically, nothing's going to happen because there's just 2, you know, Stonewall picks top lane. Bot lane's going to be the impactful one, going to be very volatile.
Yeah, I think this bot lane is going to probably be our one to watch, at least in the earlier portion of the game. As Kasing on the North, you know, this is a bot lane you very much do trust in this game. So if you are Nord right now, you're going to be feeling pretty happy with them on that front. They're actually just immediately going to walk up. They get the slow, they get the stun, they get all of the damage. Woolite comes in with the cleanse, another root onto Snabby, and there it is. Already a massive chunk out. Both summoner spells burnt on Larry. Snabby burns the ignite. Woolite just burns the cleanse, and Kasing burns the ignite, but they're going to be very happy with still having all of their summoner spells up.
Yeah, and Larry, like, it's not the end of the world for Larry, right? He did start boots for pots, so he does have a lot of sustain, maybe anticipates getting chunked like that, thinks he's not going to die, so he can just sit back now and just heal up to full, right? So that's probably the idea here. It's like 2 more potions, just used 1, and a cookie. I don't know why we're seeing top. Essentially, nothing's going to happen, but both junglers are going to full clear down to bot side, it does look like. With bot lane being this chunked, I wouldn't be surprised to see Akabane and Fury maybe look bot side on this slow push. I feel like you can slow stack this wave, maybe to the next wave, or this wave in general. Look at Akabane. He's already moving downwards. This looks like a dive already. They're fast pushing this wave. I think they're going to do something here.
Yeah, they're looking for it. Fury also is moving over to Hover for this one. Is scary with Snabby having the stun underneath the tower and no cleanse, but Snabby now just going to get warped at. Kasing can flash forward if he wants to. They're just going to zone and deny, you know, a little bit of farm away. Obviously, the cannon is currently eating up a bunch of the tower shots, so they get a plate at level 2. That is a level 2 plate.
Oh, it's just so brutal, isn't it? This kind of lane. I didn't think the dive was that possible if they had Shackle there earlier, because Shackle did clear out the wolves. Plus, Larry and Snabby were full HP. I think they're opting in for this invade because Fury always gets the prio into this Lissandra, like, on this Lissandra, and now Shackle just can't do anything. This is brutal.
This bot lane is losing the jungle matchup as well. This is so rotten. This is so rotten. What are they meant to do? No way. I was about to say, if Snabby like flashed that bush with Shackle, that would have been a very interesting play. I appreciate that Domino didn't just decide to throw the game away at level 3.
And this is like a symptom of mid lane, the mid lane matchup. Like Shaolin on this Lissandra just doesn't want to move. I think it's gone. He stole it.
That was illegal. He
just
jumped in and jumped out. Oh, Akabane is being a nuisance. He's a menace to society.
This is the kind of game where you're playing solo queue and your jungler is Rek'Sai and he's just threatening to like AFK. You know, like
yeah.
It's 100% the case, but you can see his only option now is to try and panic gank, but there's no way Nord doesn't see this coming. They have the wave coming into them too, and maybe they just call down Akabane, but Shackle, it's this or he just goes to top lane respawn camps. I don't think he can pull anything off here.
This is going to be incredibly hard. He actually got himself through the alcove, so they haven't seen him yet. See, with the Tremor Sense, he will be able to spot out when Kasing moves close enough. Coming in, they get the flash, they get the W. They're looking for the knock-up. Akabane's coming in. First blood to Shackle. He is fired out. He is answered out. Larry now getting himself rooted in place. They've got more CC to work with, but needs to find the reload. Akabane, low HP. They do miss the deadly flourish. A 4th shot might be enough. Kasing hooks a minion. Get behind me, Mr. President. That minion saved Larry's life.
I think Larry autoed a minion too with that 4th shot. I think he could have killed Kasing. Maybe I'm trolling. Maybe this is
we need a replay.
A caster oopsie moment, but I think he autoed a minion with that 4th shot. Look at Snabby here. His shield and just his damage in general is so surprising. I thought Akabane could maybe win this extended duel with that Conqueror, win those trades. Watch this auto. Yeah, he autoed a second minion. No!
Did he? I thought that hit Kasing.
I think it was a minion. Maybe Kasing's shield.
I think he W'd.
Oh, the wow with the solo kill. It might be a trade back though.
No, because Shackle's coming in to make sure that ain't happening. Flumpen just solo killed. Wow, what's happening?
Flumpen. I mean, this guy, right? Like, this is the top laner that a lot of top laners. I think we asked Banderas what his ratings on top laners are, and like Flumpen places highly on everyone's list because he is like formerly EULCS. For anyone who doesn't know, he's Flaxish, right? But renamed to Flumpen. And when I play against him solo queue, I always call him like incredibly mechanically adept, right? He's really, really good. Maybe this is showcasing some weakness in WoW's part off these like comfort picks, but I also think it's just Flumpen playing well.
Yeah, really, really well actually coming out from Flumpen there, able to find that solo kill on a player who has been heavily bigged up and has basically turned this region into LFL Div 2. To be honest, the amount of French fans we have whenever WoW plays.
When does WoW play?
Kill, yeah, when does well right now? Well, kinda. He did just get taken out.
It's the classic question. Well,
this is the problem with Sion is you do actually just eat quite a lot of damage versus the mini-Gnar, especially when you have to stand still to charge that W up. Flumpen hasn't got the Gnar up and available to him, but is able to dodge away. WoW is getting slammed down here. What is happening?
That was such a nice leap. Flumpen, mechanics, I'm telling you. On a good day, this guy could be the best top laner in our league. Genuinely, he is so damn good at laning. It's very impressive every single time. The problem is, normally we see him tied to like these kind of low mechanical champions, and I can say that because I main the champion I'm talking about. Like he's tied to like Renekton, you know? Which is like lane dominant, but it's not that much skill expression. But with this like laning on the range champion, it's really impressive. Akabane just gets a solo kill. No, not a solo kill. They managed to collapse onto Shackle in the river. What happened there?
I think he was doing Crab. Oh no, Crab's almost timed out. I don't know. I don't know why he was in the river, but he got Lissandra ulted, he got Akabane kicked, and WoW did ult in, but he didn't actually get in close enough range. Flumpen maybe feeling this. There is no Dragon's Rage available, and he's got enough damage onto WoW now that he can maybe keep this up. About to knock out. But meanwhile, in the bot lane, Larry gonna get himself a kill onto one. Well, I can't find the damage. Flumpen has that R up and available, but he's gonna get himself CC to death as Akabane takes him out. Now back into the bot lane. Woolite chasing down, but Shackle on the hunt. Gonna just about miss out on that W. Pulling down some of those Lotus Flowers as Woolite now trying to get in range of the tower. The shield comes in thanks to the save, and Snabby able to make sure that Larry does not go down.
Maybe some overconfidence coming in from Woolite, making plays. So typically in professional play, you don't see plays come on both sides of the map very often. You know, you have Woolite diving to tier 2 Larry. On the flip side, you have Fionbun getting ganked by Akabane. You don't see this typically unless they're very strong. So maybe some like overconfidence here, giving over win conditions towards Domino, giving them the opportunity to be ganked. But I just noticed something in that topside gank. This topside of Lee Sin Sion, they've actually just picked the base damage kings because of like the buffs recently, right? Sion Q got buffed to do 20 damage at all ranks, which is enormous. On top of that, Lee Sin Q also got buffed, and the E, I believe. So just the buffs coming in clutch there.
No, really so. It's a bit interesting because, you know, if you're in a solo queue game and you see oh well, I might have to hold that because that is a lovely little ward hop into the kick. Akabane been playing very, very well with his mid laner and just being able to find 2 kills nice and set up. But going back to the point, when you see a Draven go down 2 kills in the early game, you know that game is going to be difficult. Draven is a champion who wants to snowball, wants to get those kills, wants to you know, use that passive. But every time he dies, he sheds, I think it's 60 or 70% of his stacks now, if I'm right on the changes they did to him a little while ago.
Ooh, the exact number I don't remember. I think it's half,
more
right?
than 50
maybe,
though.
Is it more than 50?
I think they gave him like a nerf on it a while ago. I'm gonna have to double check. I can't remember how many loses.
Yeah,
now.
Go ahead. I'm curious now. You got me. You my interest.
I swear they upped the number.
I think there's going to be a Herald down bot side though now, and with a match potentially into mid lane. But it does look like Fury's just going to be able to clear this out. And just highlighting Fury's actually on this Lissandra. This isn't something we've seen. Just as I was praising his Lissandra, I think he manages to die here. Yeah, that Chaos Storm. Not quite with that Aerie from Annie. Oh, this is the power of the Aerie Annie, by the way. The Aerie, the Tibbers on the Aerie keeps re-procking. Kasing just going for a flash hook there, misses. Unfortunately, nice try, buddy. But the Aerie on the Tibbers is really nuts because the Tibbers will run you down and the Aerie will keep going flying between the enemy and Annie, and it'll just keep procking. It's really disgusting, actually. Like, pile that on top of a Chaos Storm. It's a quite nice combo.
I cannot find the information.
Disaster. I knew this before, by the way. I knew how this worked. I'm really sad.
Loses 75%.
75, okay.
Stacks. Yeah, there it is.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, like he's lost 75% of his adoration stacks twice. Now, lucky for him, that first one he didn't have that many to lose because it was very early in the game. But he probably started to build them back up. But I don't think he's hit 100 yet. Probably has about now, but he has not been able to really get too much gold for himself as they are chasing onto Flumpum, but Flumpum able to move away. Not near to that Narbar, so it does need to be a little bit careful. Akabane, though, definitely a glimmering light for his team right now. 4-0 on the new buffed, the new and improved Lee Sin. Yeah. Having a very, very good game. I'm sure a lot of junglers are maybe sighing a breath of relief after seeing how much this champion's been buffed. No way. It's Flumpun snuck in.
Will they? This is a really, really good tactic. They think Fionbun has actually recalled here, for sure. They think Fionbun's going to go answer bot wave, you know, do this typical standard swap. Fionbun's actually cheesing in this bush here.
Oh,
I don't think they would realize.
They brought the Sion up. They might have an idea, you know.
Oh, they
know.
I think they saw him.
They must have seen. He's going to try and jump over. He's able to just about get away. The anti-stun comes in. But that's a big enough lockdown from the Lissandra to secure the kill for Nord.
You know, I think it was the minion. I think it was the minion vision bending around the bushes, and they just managed to catch a glimpse of him. They were like, what is going on? Because there's no way that they didn't see him on that minion, and Woolite was walking up. So I genuinely didn't think they saw him until then. That's really unfortunate, and he just gets bursted out because minion are so squishy.
That is so unlucky for them on that front as Kasing and Akabane may just find themselves getting knocked up. The Gravity Storm's going to lock them both in place. You can't take the E out yet. Akabane's got so much damage as Whirling Death comes forwards. They're able to secure themselves a kill in a 1-for-1 trade, but the lockdown's onto Shaolin. He tries to get the shield. Flimpern's now coming in on the flank. Larry, can he find the damage onto Woolite? I don't know if he can. Flimpern nowhere near the Narbar as they are getting so much additional damage in. In comes the bouncing grenade. They're trying to get the jump out. They're able to get a little bit more damage. Akabane into 3. The sustain, the damage coming in, securing himself the double. Flimpern about to gnaw out one more auto attack, and he trades out. That was carnage.
What is going on? That was the most nonsense fight I've ever seen. Akabane, I think Fionbun managed to TP in towards the end there because he died. Or he just walked. No, I think he actually respawns and TPs. You can see he TPs to the mid lane tower right now, but Akabane here lives twice on very low HP, manages to get loads of Triumph procs, and then at the end there manages to wait until his Gore Drinker is all the way back up to survive again, to trade 1 for 2. I thought he was going to get a triple kill. Honestly, I genuinely did with those multiple Triumph procs here, where he times it. It does look like Domino's doing a really good job at juggling aggro and damage, but look at this Gore Drinker. 511 HP. I really thought he would turn this into a triple.
That was so nasty. Got the 3-man E Gore Drinker. Absolutely disgusting stuff. And then one final trade, getting the Hyper Proc out
what
from the
What a crazy fight.
That was carnage. That was such a good fight. And we are back into action.
Is this a replay?
Securing himself a kill. It's a 2-for-1 trade. Akabane goes down a second time.
Can I have a breather? This is absolutely insane. Woolite with that Kraken Slayer just running down Snabby. I think we're going to get another replay of the fight. Akabane finding that engage again. With that Gore Drinker, managed to survive on a few HP, getting so much value out of this. I think Rek'Sai, actually, Shackle on this Rek'Sai managed to find the pick, which is a decent shutdown with that Prowler's Claw. I think now what we're going to do is probably take a breather and go for the Dragon with that mid push. Always got to be conscious of that ability to pick off with the Rek'Sai and the anti-flash stun. So,
honestly, props to Domino to be able to play this game and actually really be, there's a pretty significant gold lead between them and Nord right now, but these fights don't look like the gold lead gap. It's actually the opposite of the previous game, right? Like the previous game, it looked like the gold lead was way bigger than it was, and it was just kind of just general pressure. But Domino, they are just brawling constantly in. Unfortunately, every fight is at least 1 or 2 mana advantage in the favor of Nord by the time it's done. But even so, Domino are really trying to just put up for these fights and going toe-to-toe with Nord where they can. Nord will be able to pick themselves up this Dragon for themselves. And I'm glad we can bring up the gold difference, because 2,000 their gold difference is between Shackle and Akabane right now. Yeah. That's where a fairly large gold difference is. But Woolite has a pretty significant lead over Larry.
And I don't think you can completely blame Shackle for this. I say that as he postures from maybe a tunnel over. Well, you can see Snabby posturing with that flash Tibbers, He's got that stun up there. It was a bit scary with Shackle over the wall. Regardless, I don't think you can blame Shackle for that individual gold lead, because that beginning of the game, that was brutal stuff. Having no mid prio and just getting invaded upon by a Draven Nautilus as well as a Lee Sin, what can you do? He went down, I think, 2 camp, his jungle and Crump, and then just couldn't do anything. Also couldn't find plays really well, had to trade 1 for 1 in a bot gank. Snabby, this guy is terrifying. You can see the power of that flash Tibbers just coming out constantly.
Yeah, Woolite's about to get cleanse over. It's going to tick over and be up and available to him now. So he's less scared of the Annie at that point.
Yeah.
Still scared because there's a Tibbers. But we'll, you kill him, Tibbers gets that movement speed and chases you down. Akabane getting his second Rift Herald of the game. Also being able to pick up that first Dragon. We assume that'll probably be used, I assume, in the mid lane to crack that tower open. Because right now it's a bit of a stalemate mid. They should be able to just find pressure without Herald to take this tower down. Backing off. So yeah, probably just can see the Herald go in the mid to secure this lane here for the side of Nord and open up the map for themselves, because they've been able to accrue a gold lead. Now they need to push the advantage they've got with it.
Absolutely. And I think the next big thing is Dragon. You could just see ping-ponging waves for now. I think a lot of... See, the thing is, the fights that are probably going to happen are going to be so explosive and random, it's incredibly hard to tell what will happen, because the engagers are so fast, right? You have a Nautilus hook, you've got a Flash Lissandra, you've also got random kick flashes you can make. Same with Prowler's Claw and Flash Anti-Tibbers. I think it's incredibly hard to predict here, and whatever will happen, it will just be a team wipe. A multiple kills go down, and it will just be completely random out of the blue.
Absolutely. Well, looks like the pings are going down. Domino coming in from the enemy red side on the flank here. Snabby does have that flash. We heard the Scion ultimate come down the river. Shaolin might find himself in danger. Larry loses a lot of HP. I do believe Shaolin was that not able... He did hold his summoner spell, so he was able to walk away. Snabby has been spotted. It's just going to get a burst of movement speed. Akabane is going to chase him down, throws down the Tibbers to get the deadly flourish off the flash out from Snabby. But he's been followed up too. In comes Flumpin onto the side. Shaolin trying to chase onto Kasing. Woolite's low HP, but he's able to survive, killing Shackle in the meanwhile. As Kasing does go down in the meanwhile. Akabane able to answer out as well. 1 for 1 so far. Shaolin's low HP. In comes Akabane chasing onto Larry. Shaolin limping out of the fight as the Slumpin able to get the stun off from the gravity field to deny WoW from chasing any further. Shaolin needs to get away as Larry's being exposed. What a kick from Akabane. Another chaotic carnage fight goes in favor of Nord. They take mid lane tier 1 and they're going to herald onto tier 2.
And you take a look at top lane wave as well. All the meanwhile, the macro is going in Nord's favor too, because they're losing waves top lane. I think they just have to send people top lane to potentially catch it. And now mid lane Herald Charge, they're just winning all across the map on top of winning the fights. And this is what we're talking about. The engages are so quick. It's a random WoW Sayonara to try and pin Shaolin, which turns into everyone being caught off. You saw Snabby on this Annie, he just had nowhere to go. He was stuck behind, and I think we just get a little pause here. Snabby does look like he's DC'd. But again...
yeah, I believe it was just a bit of hardware issues for him, but it should be a pretty quick fix, actually, on that front. This game has been carnage. I did not expect such a good banger. Game. I didn't expect this much of a banger, but we are getting it. I think ultimately you are seeing Nord proving why they are the better team of the two right now. They are still able to take these fights when they want. They're the ones forcing the issue. Domino are doing a fantastic job of answering out and fighting back, but every time it's been a little bit Nord favored until it's now just completely Nord favored. Like, these fights are very, very one-sided. Having a little look at the early game, Akabane honestly was a menace. He was 4-0 in the early game.
Definitely the MVP.
Such a good game. So far, yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll see how the rest of the game goes. Gasing and Woolite, they honestly struggled early.
Was this a minion? Did he hit a minion here? Let's take a look for the fourth time. Is a minion?
He did?
No, he hit. No.
Did he? I don't know.
Go
back.
Disagreeing.
Go back. Come on,
I have
observers.
To see this. I
want it in slow-mo.
I think Kasing got the shield, but it was just because it was so fast that we just couldn't see it properly. Like, it was so close.
Oh
well.
I'm pretty sure.
We'll
I'm pretty sure you're right. It was definitely the W, because there was no minion for him to auto where the bullet went. Oh, we're seeing it again. I want this in slow-mo.
Absolutely. Right. I think Kasing's W just came up.
And this is so goofy that we're getting distracted this much by this one auto attack.
This is the kind of thing that really irritates me.
Yeah, there's no minion. Oh, there is. Of course there is.
The shield doesn't pop. Yeah, he hits him. But the shield doesn't pop because it's so, like, frame perfect, you know?
Yeah.
It's absolutely frame perfect.
So weird.
Yeah. It was really hard to tell. Anyway.
If you're Larry, you are upset with that one. You're very upset with that one.
Yeah. I just want to highlight, like, you know, I don't think Domino's playing that badly, right? I feel like people called me a madman for voting Domino a couple weeks, like last week and this week. But I genuinely don't think Domino's that bad of a team. I think they can sometimes do goofy stuff like Silas support, but there's so many glimpses of hope, right? The way they skirmish, like in mid lane just there, with that whole chaotic fight, with that WoW Scion ultimate, they managed to still try and pin down Woolite. It was so close to actually killing, right? And there's so many signs where they're just so close to being good enough to beat this team or maybe contend with them, but it's not quite there yet.
This does feel like a team that if they survive the off-season and go into the summer split as this team, I think they could genuinely, maybe not contest the top end of the table, but they could easily be a kind of 5th through to 4th team. I think, you know, playoffs is not out of their reach. I just think this team needs a little bit more time to kind of figure out what mistakes they've been making. There's a really promising hope to what was put together here. I just think they struggled to kind of find their identity and their play style, and it's kind of just come a little bit too late, and they're still struggling. I mean, I say struggling, but they are versus Nord here. They are versus one of the best teams in the league, and you're seeing why this team has impressed us to the way they have. You know, I feel like if this game was versus any other team, maybe not any other team, but like a bunch of the other teams in the league, this would be so Domino one-sided right now. This would be so Domino one-sided. But I think if you had this versus Nord Riddle already, unfortunately Nord right now, it was always going to be a harder one for them.
And you know what I like how they're kind of drafting like kind of normally. You know, there's no random curveball they have to play around, because I feel like yesterday when they played Silas, it felt like they just had no idea what was going on. Silas just kept trying to invade to find stuff, but then he would like have to flash out at 3 minutes, and then it just ended up with him perma-roaming, never laning bot lane, and Larry having to 1v2. So yeah, I just didn't think it was like that great for them, because it didn't look like they had that much practice playing around it. Anyway, we are back into the game. What kind of state are we in? I don't really remember. I think probably going to contest that third dragon next.
8,000 gold lead might be your big giveaway.
Wow, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, Woolite has gone from like kind of soft inting to being mega fed. This is what Draven does though. He gets a couple of those adorations that payouts, and suddenly he just snowballs to a position where he is terrifying. I mean, we saw earlier an auto attack land onto Larry. I'm curious what items Woolite's rocking. Does he have his IE yet? Okay.
Oh.
So he has got the IE now. These auto attacks are going to absolutely butcher people. Are they looking for WoW?
WoW's pretty hard to kill here. I don't think they can kill the tower. Is he going to ulti the stun? Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And he's unstoppable in that. Nice try. Identifies he's probably going to get dived if he stays. No use saving a tier 1 turret. Tier 1 turrets, even though there's a bounty on them, the objective bounty, something this is a lesser known fact, the objective bounty of a tier 1 turret isn't that high. It's 50 gold per person, which, you know, it's a potion per person. It's not that great. The bounties are typically way higher elsewhere. This is a duo Baron. I don't think this is doable. It's way too slow.
They're Chaos Storming it, and they've got Tibbers on.
It's way too slow.
WoW's just going to be able to interrupt this. This is not going to happen. This is so rough for them. Now they might try and find a way out. Snabby, he's actually out of mana. I don't know if he can even find the stun here. WoW is going to eat a bunch of Baron damage, but he's just going to say thanks for the leash, boys. As Larry gets himself taken out. Flumpen, though, does enter out onto Woolite himself. Misses the W, but the flash does come in the meanwhile. Shaolin getting himself a bunch of damage off onto WoW. They're going to look for the lockdown to try and pin him in place. They force the ult out as the Baron has been dissuaded. WoW now in zombie form chasing, but Shaolin is out of mana, running towards nobody. Slowed by the Q from Fury. Maybe if Hakabane can find the kick, it should be enough. He gets a bit of movement speed. Flumpen's in the area. Kasing, all he needs to do is land the hook. The kick connects. Shaolin goes down. Flumpen's chunked. Another Jin trap comes in huge as Flumpen gets the movement speed off the hyperproc. Shackle coming in. Gets himself the two-man knockup. Locked in place. There's going to be the stopwatch, and down goes the robot. Flumpen Nas. Flumpen gets free. Deadly Flourish coming in. Can Larry close the gap? No, he can't. These fights are madness! They're utter madness!
What is going on? Nord looks so disjointed, it's unbelievable. Despite the lead, it honestly looks like they're having fun. There's a TP coming in behind, the fight's not over.
What is going on? They're still chasing. Right, Dragon's up. Let's not be too greedy, Lord. Let's just go for Dragon.
Snabby, I think he's going to try and drop a ward on Dragon, but ultimately this won't do anything. Shackle being dead and Fjumpen being dead, Fjumpen being, like, honestly the strongest member right now in terms of these fights, it feels like probably going to dissuade this. But what was that fight? It feels like it was so disjointed. There's no way to contest this, so I'm pretty confident in that.
That was kind of close, I'm not going to lie, but Woolite actually losing a lot of HP here. They do get the knock up onto Larry. In comes the rest of the team, though. Snabby getting chased onto. He flashes. He misses the W. The laser beam's coming in. Woolite counting on the fancy feet to dodge the fourth shot of the Jin ult. Able to block it out. WoW pays the ultimate price, though. But somehow, Woolite survives.
And what is happening to Nord? I don't understand what's going on. In that previous fight, you have Woolite getting caught by Fjumpen, Fjumpen making miracle plays. Then you have Akabane doing something completely different to the other team. He's just soloing Baron for some reason whilst his team is fighting. And another engage like is saying this is incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah, this is absolute madness. I think they're done with it now. I think they've gone for that. It didn't work. That's me low-key cursing it because I want more action. As Akabane is going to be a little bit careful here, able to jump out. They do get the lockdown onto Shackle. Remember, he's very squishy with this build, and he is donezo. He is out of there. Shaolin teleports in just a little bit too late to be able to find more. Baron's up, and maybe Nord are going to be the team to grab it finally. They're on a pink ward, though, so they know this is going on. Tibbers is almost up and available, but no flash available to Snabby. Got that stun. This could be a messy fight once again. There's a Chaos Storm up and available. They do hook onto Larry. They're going in for the turn. Tibbers is missed. Tibbers is done. Double kill for WoW.
And WoW walks in behind to secure that hook from the Nautilus. Make sure they're pincered. Secure this Baron. Ultimately, this Baron was probably going over the way to Nord because of that lack of jungler in Shackle. Gonna try and maybe cross-map this for a mid lane turret, but ultimately, looks like he's just gonna die as well.
Shaolin! Not like this, and now Flumpen's taking charged up tower shots, gets the wallop off, but that was an interesting flash. They've got the Q on. Lee's coming in. Nah, he's down. They got the kick to the head as well. Do you know what? Domino they challenged they challenged Riddle as well, didn't they? And now they're challenging
5K
Nord.
gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge on this sense is a bit different in the sense where, like, these fights are explosive, and it's definitely not as much of a challenge as we saw previously. But I will say, back in the day, I remember when you started, I think it was M&M who were like the they were like the God Slayers, right? They were the team that were challenging like Diabolus and Fnatic and XL, you know, like our teams who were absolutely killing it back on the tower format. Shudders. But Domino are like kind of like a weaker version of Eminem back then. Like, they are able to go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the league and actually make it look semi-competitive. Yes, the gold lead's huge, but the fighting has been at least closer than it should be. And I think that's the key takeaway. It's not that they're winning any of these fights, but they are challenging Nord in ways where Nord probably shouldn't be getting challenged.
This game, I didn't even realize it's 25 minutes in. I thought this was way, way longer than this because of the constant fighting. Does look like they're going to set up for 4-1 right now. Typical standard Baron Siege. You know, you don't go 1-3-1 typically. It's just too difficult. Now you're going to guarantee that top lane inhibitor. Mid lane is getting engaged on. That Rek'Sai ultimate there, I think he just gets bursted out.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a mistake. I think, like, everything I was just saying about Domino has maybe slightly fallen apart now. As they are kind of making some pretty silly mistakes, and Shackle has died 8 times at this point. He is not having the greatest of performances, and we have seen Snabby miss a few Tibbers, a few Flash Ws, a few of those kind of major lockdown abilities has unfortunately not been able to quite land. As now, with all of the inhibitors going down, Nord just looking to close this game out by the books, and it has been an incredibly fast-paced game. Do get the lockdown, they find the hook, and in comes the fight. The lock is there, and Akabane, 12 kills in. Knock-up coming in on to Shackles. He finds himself stunned. Larry does have that 4th shot, but he gets hooked on the back, kicked out, taken out by Akabane. Shackle, he doesn't want to go down a 9th time, is going to stopwatch, but will make sure that he is picked up, as Shaolin genuinely doing a serious amount of work on the Victor, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't have anybody else with him. Baron's still there. Teleport coming up. Waves getting pushed in on all fronts. Baron up waves as well. Supered up waves in every lane. Down goes the first turret. In comes the hook. Down goes the Victor. Snabby gets a stun, but it ain't going to be enough. As, oh my word, what happened to his health bar? We're not able to quite finish this one up, but there we have it. 27 minutes on the clock. A couple bit of ego padding kills to close it out. 27 minutes. 32 kills as Nord take the victory from that game. How the hell do you talk about a game like that? That was just carnage.
I was about to say the same thing. How am I supposed to summarize that? It's just from minute 1, just non-stop action. From that invade, from the draft, I feel like, yeah, you can see the invade here. How is Shackle supposed to play? Akabane MVP from minute 1, in my opinion. Managing to find leads constantly. I think he ended like 15-3 or something with that fountain dive. Really nuts level of play.
Yeah, Akabane is very clearly the MVP for this game. He just played absolutely superbly. And honestly, this bot lane started well. It started super well. Obviously, this is the sad auto attack we've seen about 18 times now, but it was a very, very good start to the game for Domino. And unfortunately, Nord just are a team who know what they're doing. And this actually kind of goes back to what Kiba was saying, where like Nord wait for you to make mistakes into them. That is like their major strength. And Domino were maybe too aggressive, a little bit too eager to push fights and constantly go for it. And that is playing into Nord's playstyle. You know, they are maybe like a Venus flytrap of a team where they wait for you to land and then they close the trap and take you out. Absolutely phenomenal game though, either way. I think Domino, while they lost this game, there's elements of they are genuinely showing a lot of hope as a team fighting team. Imagine if the gold lead wasn't this big. Like how much more one-sided these fights could have been.
The gold drinker? Oh, sorry, I love that clip. This was such a good level of micro from Akabane. But yeah, no, absolutely, I agree with you. If the gold lead was closer, maybe they wouldn't opt into the same fights. But still, they're managing to outplay and find ways to make up for the gold lead just from raw individual strength. And I think this is something we see a lot with Domino, where maybe in lane phase they won't lose. You know, I think yesterday was a bit of an exception to that, where they just lost from like straight away. But they will find individual plays, like small leads, especially topside, man. I've got to shout out Fyumpun. This guy's getting solo kills, you know, constantly trying to 1v2, desperately trying to put his team on his back. And I think the wins they did get were off the back of Fyumpun as well. Finding roams, any leads typically come from him. So this guy typically constantly winning lane, but it's not just quite enough.
No, it wasn't enough, unfortunately. It's just, Flumpun played genuine, yeah, you are right. Flumpun did play super well. I think if this was a win, he would have taken that MVP, but unfortunately, Akabane was just so impactful all game long. I think this was the failed stun from Snabby, instantly getting himself hooked. No, it was Larry who got hooked, and then Snabby, I believe, missed Tibbers, yep, onto Woolite, and that fight just fell apart at the seams, unfortunately. Yep. I'm still, there's an element of, I can see why we still vote for Domino in some of the games, because they are genuinely, out of our teams at the bottom, I think they are the most impressive team we have of our bottom of the barrel teams. It seems like, it sounds like a mean way to say it, but they genuinely have got this weird spark, this weird fire in them.
Yeah.
Which, when they're not picking Silas, when they're not picking Silas support, they are actually look like a seriously competitive team, even when behind. I mean, that game looked way closer than our previous game, and the gold lead was astronomically bigger for Nord versus what Riddle had over Unique. So it's a very hard game to break down, because it was just a lot of team fighting and a big gold lead. And I think that was just the defining factor. I'm curious to see what the players have to say about this game. I'm especially interested to see what the members of Domino were kind of thinking in this game, and why they just went complete balls to the wall and just went complete carnage in that game, and maybe didn't just take a breather. Was it nerves? Was it panic? Or was it just how they want to be playing? And they see themselves as out of playoffs at this point, so they're just practicing team fighting maybe. It's hard to say.
I can't wait to ask some of them, like, how much fun were you having in that game? I really want to ask that, because it just looked like, I want to know what comms sounded like. It just looked like they're having a blast, Yeah. But really, genuinely, Kasing on that Nort is not something we touched on. He kept landing really good hooks. Like, in those team fights, managing to find hooks onto Larry, and just game-defining ones consistently all the time, not just at the Baron, but elsewhere too. Really good. Last time we saw Kasing on his Nort pop off as well, I think it was versus Ruddy, and they won there too. So, Kasing Nort might be the angle next time.
I mean, you also there's a bit of salt you got to take with being good on Nort, because I mean the hook is literally the width of a lane. So Kasing's a good player, don't get me wrong, but let's be real, it is Nautilus hooks. But yeah, Carnage game. I'm interested to hear what the players have to say about that one. And kind of going back to something I was saying in the game as well is, of all the teams I want to see stay together, I do genuinely want to see what this Domino would look like if they had another season together. If they had all of off season to kind of prep and prepare. Could they actually be a team that make it to playoffs? Could they look more competitive in the future? Or is this team maybe a little bit too chaotic? And there's a lot of talent on Domino, and I think that's a key thing to look at. Is like, there's 5 very good players on this team. Maybe they just bring the worst out in each other, and it's just complete carnage. Or maybe with a little bit more time, to kind of curate and develop the individual talent of this team, they could be a competitive team again. I'd be very interested to see what they would look like, if they stayed together by the end of summer.
No, absolutely. I think we have seen that a bit. Just to touch on what you said with the too much chaos, I think we have seen that, because it feels like if stuff starts to go wrong about 15 minutes, if stuff starts to go wrong, it feels like they just start throwing everything at the wall, just until something works. The fight never ends. And we saw that this game, but we also saw it in other games where it just feels like they start panicking really hard. And this game, it kind of makes sense because, the Rek'Sai win condition, it's not exactly a late game thing, especially when your main carry is like Gnar. You want to be playing aggro constantly. But I think they need to simmer that down a bit. It's okay to just say, we lost this play and just move on to the next.
See, I'd have a drink. Like, genuinely, my throat is shot. We've still got 2 games to go, and that game cooked my throat. We have Pride standing by for an interview, so we'll bring him in. Hello, mate. Again, hello. a grumpy octopus on your shoulder, not a happy one. I think that was the last time I spoke to you, had that.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? What was that game? That was absolute madness.
It was a Domino Classic. We're making it fun. Yeah. We delivered.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I do want to get a little bit of a deeper dive on that game. What was the game plan there? Because it felt like it was just fight. Was that the initial plan, or was that maybe what it fell apart and kind of became? What was the game plan going into this game?
I can't speak too much of what the game plan was, because I wasn't really there for the planning phase, but looking at how they were communicating and stuff, they really wanted to do stuff in the early game, get Rek'Sai to the Prowler scroll, because then he was confident that he could carry from there. But we were afraid of the Lee Sin Nautilus perma invading, and they did so. The early one was fine, but then they kept doing it. But we solo balled top, we solo balled mid. We also had some 2v2 fight spot lane that went even, I believe. And I don't know where we felt so far behind. I was kind of just jumping excitedly on my seat whenever we got a kill. But somewhere in there we are suddenly 10k gold behind, but we're still kind of fighting evenly. But we are not getting a chance to have tempo, I believe. That might be just because we're not able to kill the champions that are ideal to kill, like Draven and Lissandra.
I was just wondering, right? Like maybe some behind the scenes things. Is this typical for Domino? Because I see a lot of chaos in Domino games, right? I absolutely love watching Domino because it feels like every single time I watch them, it's a fun game. You know, we have our slow teams, like for example, Verdant. No shade to them, they're just a slow team. But then every time I watch Domino, it's a fiesta. I love it. Is that typical for like scrims and everything like this?
I hope I don't say this wrong. I think the policy that we have with our coach is that we learn more if we play aggressive and the champions that needs to get a lead, rather than just sitting there and be that team that says, you know what, we're just going to sit and scale, and at 50 minutes we're going to win anyway because we are better. I don't think we're going to learn that way. I think we're going to learn more by playing aggressive, by playing stuff that get picks and takes advantages, and perhaps we are not really good at getting those advantages all the time, but practice makes perfect. So in time, I think the team will get good. I think we had a rough start of the season. Things didn't go as planned for us, making not going too much into detail, but it just didn't go as we wanted at the start. But I think now, if we had this from the start, then I think it would have been much better.
Yeah, honestly, as I was saying earlier, all the teams at the kind of bottom, you're definitely the most impressive and most competitive team we see when they play versus a team that are way higher in the standings. Honestly, fun is absolutely a part of it, but it's also actually quite impressive seeing, you being down like 8k gold and still kind of having an almost close fight to someone like Nord. It's really impressive in that way. But Pride, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. Hopefully the octopus that isn't on your shoulder anymore is a happy face next time we speak to you. See you later, all right?
Yeah, see you later.
See you later,
Thanks for casting.
And I believe we have our other interview. Nico, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks.
So that was a pretty chaotic game. You guys had a major gold lead for the majority of it. Obviously, there were some mistakes at the beginning of the game that put you behind, not behind, but in certain lanes behind. And then at some point, nobody seems to know when, that game was just like massively far ahead. It was like you were equal and then you were like 8k gold up. And I don't really know what happened. Did you expect a game versus Domino to be this chaotic, or did you think it was going to be a walk in the park?
I mean, at the start of the splits, we were mainly playing something that we called tower defense. So the objective was to basically learn the basics of the game with scaling composition, because this is really hard to learn the basics of the game if you lose a game after 20 minutes, because you can't work on your mid game basically. So we wanted to have draft that allow us to have a win condition no matter what happened in the game, close to. But recently, because we start to know how to play League of Legends, we tried to shift a bit our playstyle to learn something new. So also because of the meta shifts, range supports are not as good as they were on the previous patch. So on the timing, I'm pretty happy because that fits perfectly about what I wanted to do with the team. So we end up playing more aggressive composition, I would say. So we try a lot Draven, for example, that we saw on this week. And this is the kind of champion that even if you are behind, from let's say 1 kill or 2 kills, at the moment that you get kills, you just go back into the game really fast. So I mean, I didn't expect Domino to contest that much, to be honest. I was a bit expecting them to play to wait to die. I don't know if that makes sense. Because to take the example of UniQ yesterday, they were just waiting to die. They didn't try to cheese, they didn't try to play on flash, they didn't try anything. And today Domino was at least trying, even if it was bit hopeless, but you know. So I respect that, and it was like it sounded like game 5 of Scrim, you know. So I mean, it was really funny to watch.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, I don't know if you get to hear the comms, but I had 2 questions. I wanted to ask, like, what are the comms sounding like? Because I was willing to bet they sound hilarious. You know, everyone's constantly fighting for calls. And part 2 of the question was, how happy are you with that quality of game? Because at some point, you know, it felt like everyone was just doing everything different. You know, like at one point, you had Akabane like on Baron, Woolite getting pinned against the wall by a Gnar, and then other people fighting top lane. You know, there's loads of different plays happening at different times. I was wondering what you think of that. Is that okay with you? How do you view it as a coach?
So basically about comms, like the really funny thing with this team is that we don't have like everyone stays serious even on this kind of game. Okay. But everyone wants a part of the cake. So like, let's say for example, to give you an example about yesterday game, so we give like, I don't know, like 6 kills to Woolite, and or like we get like we were in 4-0, you know, like we dive bot and after we kill mid 2 times in a row, and meanwhile WoW was screaming, guys please dive top, I want to kill this guy too, please. And it was kind of the same vibe in this game. So like we were basically doing move on the map, and Fury wanted kill too, so he was like, guys, I don't want to have like 15 assists again this game, please give me kills. So everyone was trying a bit to get like dopamine rush, you know.
Yeah.
And so this is on that way that it ended up messy, because for example in some fight Akabane, instead of peeling Draven, he was just chasing Annie for kills. And I don't know, like, I mean, at the moment that we are going out of lane with that advantage, with the quality of the player that I have, I know that no matter what we do, we will end up winning the game against these teams. So I don't know, I just put my feet on the table and I wait, you know?
Well, it was great to speak to you, mate. I'd love to talk more, but unfortunately we do have to get on with the day. Thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on the win. Even though it was absolute carnage. I love it. I hope we get more of those games from you guys, and we'll see you later, all right?
Thank you, and thanks a lot for the interview, guys.
And we have our 3rd game, which is the match of the day, coming up after the break. It is going to be Verdant versus Veneer, so make sure you stick around for that one. We'll see you in a moment.